if I'm a bit skeptical of the housing minister who increased the price of housing by 179% in just 8 years in Vancouver. They broke housing. They fueled inflation that drove up rates. They rewarded those who blocked housing construction. They supercharged immigration numbers that outpaced the availability of housing. He says we need affordable housing. Great. But then he turns around and says that home prices shouldn't go down. Both of these things cannot be true, so which one is it?
I'm frankly not surprised to hear the confusion on the other side of the House when you put the words affordable and housing together.
That's right.
We're taking action on it, Mr. Speaker, and though the federal government does not control the price of housing, we want to see the overall cost of housing come down. That's why we are investing in local partnerships with cities across Canada to bring the development cost charges down for housing and deliver affordability.
Gregor Robertson, housing minister, speaking about housing this past Monday. I'm seeing mixed interpretations on his message here, and to be honest, I understand why. Because we have over-glamorized buzzwords like affordable housing. What does that actually mean? He says that they want to see the overall cost of housing come down. But how? By bringing development charges down, but that would only be a small fraction of homes. He also said, and I quote, "To be clear, we need to see average prices of housing for Canadians come down. We have to build a lot more non-market housing to bring down the average cost." What is non-market housing, Gregor? Did I miss something? Because all I hear is just more words. I don't hear a plan. All I heard is reducing development charges. Fine, but we've been hearing that for months and nothing's changed. So what else is there? How will we restore affordability? So for me, this sounds like a political stunt to make you feel that they're doing something substantial, but I'm a logical person. Where's the plan of action? I just see more words because frankly, some politicians absolutely repulse me. So now this brings me to my next question. What is affordable homes? Does that mean 2019 prices? You hear that word so often, you never actually hear the definition of what would make homes affordable. But viewers on this channel comment all the time on their definition of affordable housing. Because politicians, and I'll let you in on a secret, that would be political suicide for a politician to define. But the nonprofit Generation Squeeze didn't hold back. They actually said in a report in 2021 that we need prices to fall by $341,000 to even be called affordable. Yeah, it's that kind of episode. It's going to be a spicy one. We're diving into why the housing minister flipped, why Generation Squeeze says that huge drop number, because it's just not a number he pulled out of a hat, and why Mark Carney's GST rebate promise, yeah, to me, it's all fluff, and I'll tell you why. I'm Linda, one of the Ragona Sisters, and we're going to talk about the government and their tricks under their sleeves. Subscribe now because we're breaking down how these promises just don't line up and why that 300K drop isn't just talk. Now, Gregor Robertson, he stood up in Parliament like you saw and he admitted, we've got a housing crisis. No way. Average prices need to come down for people to afford homes. That was pretty much the message. Same old that we keep hearing. Basically admitting that's what was done before isn't cutting it and that we need to cool off the market. But how are we going to get there? I guess we'll have to wait to see what that actually means, although the government's supposed to work for us, the taxpayer, but we're just left hanging, guessing at this point what that actually means. Guys, I'm really done with filler words. I actually want action. You know, when someone says something and they actually follow through with their word, that would be nice for a change. So Generation Squeeze laid it all out in 2021. The average first-time homebuyer needs 17 years. Yeah, 17 years of savings to scrape together a 20% down payment. And that's not even the GTA, because the GTA, it's worse. It's 27 years. Okay, I promised in this episode I wasn't going to be bitching about the government, but come on. You didn't think ultra low rates, 35% annual price appreciation and years of buyers over leveraging that we weren't going to be in a crisis like we're in today. Like, come on. We're not all in denial here. Okay, I apologize. I'll get back on topic because I promised myself this episode I wasn't going to do this, but it comes out naturally. So the reason why Generation Squeeze says prices have to drop by over 300,000 is to bring down the down payment back into reach for the average earner. So that number isn't random. It's about making homes something people can actually save up for again. Because we are quietly creating a country where you won't own a house. You'll just be renting and you'll be happy. Listen, there's nothing wrong with renting. Some people choose to own, some people choose to rent. And there's nothing wrong with either decision. But the moment where the market makes it a non-option, that's where many people start feeling like we have a major problem. So next, we'll get into the Mark Carney GST promise and why I think it's more fluff than anything else, because it rolls nicely into Generation Squeeze's assessment on down payments. So Mark Carney comes in, says they'll reduce the GST on new homes under $1 million for first-time homebuyers. Sounds nice, doesn't it? But here's the reality. How many first-time buyers are actually buying brand new homes? It's almost like finding a unicorn, especially finding a home in the Greater Toronto area that's under $1 million. There's very few, if any. So let's be real. On new construction, the deposit is normally higher. Ultimately, it depends on the home price, but for anything between $500 to $1 million, you need 15%. So let's get back to the Generation Squeeze assessment. And I actually found updated statistics based on 2024 prices. The average income earner in Ontario will need roughly 13.7 years to save up for at least 20% on an average home. So that's Ontario. That's not the Greater Toronto area. So you probably need to add another 10 years on top of that timeline. So do you understand why the GST rebate is just another political stunt in my eyes? It doesn't make any sense. Now, it's so fitting that the housing minister brought up prices this week, because in my last video, I was already talking about making my next video about the fundamentals that keep home prices down. So people like us can see the signs on the ground and the trajectory of the home prices and get a heads up indicator when prices have bottomed out or on their way up. And I can't tell you how many times I get this question. So this is why I wanted to make this video apparent on the fundamentals so we can track it together. So let's talk about the triggers, the fundamentals that keep downward pressure on prices. Number one, high inventory. We're seeing more listings in many parts of the Greater Toronto area. That means buyers have choices and sellers, they're not in the driver's seat anymore in a lot of different areas. Once inventory begins to get absorbed faster, that's a sign that things are turning around. Number two, higher interest rates. When money gets more expensive, it's harder for people to borrow and fewer people get to afford to buy. That cools the market very fast. But where lending starts opening up more opportunities and you can actually borrow more money, that's another sign that things could start to change. Number three, wage growth. If home prices grow faster than incomes, you're pricing out entire generations. But if prices drop enough to allow for these home buyers to afford a home in their income, that's another sign things are changing. And number four, inflation. Inflation on groceries, gas, and daily living. It's all eating into budgets. Less room to save, less confidence to buy. This one, I'd say, is a long shot right now. Just being honest, and I hope I'm wrong, but seeing the amount of money leaving the country makes me a little pessimistic on that one. So when the housing minister said prices need to fall, he's just saying what the data's already been screaming at us for years. And I'll say this too, as painful as it is for a seller, it might be the correction we need to get stability back in the market. Because we're not just talking about homes, we're actually talking about people's lives and their future. And if we continue to price entire generations out of home ownership, we're not just continuing a housing problem, we're creating wealth gap that won't be fixed in one election cycle. And on a side note, What is your definition of affordable homes? Let's make this interesting. So if you're wondering, should I buy now or should I wait? This isn't a one size fits all. Everybody's situation is very different. But if you want help cutting through the noise and understanding what's your best options, and you're in the Greater Toronto area, we would love to chat with you. And if this video helped just a bit and helping you think clear, hit subscribe and it helps more than you know. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you watched till the end, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.